right, fuel tank top blows off, stops traffic. Money matters training for school administrators. And environment champions awarded. Very good evening. The top of a fuel tank located at Walu Bay just outside Suva is understood to have blown off at around midday today, causing a traffic jam. The National Fire Authority were quick to the scene to monitor any major developments and also to control traffic flow. They were still working on trying to repair the fuel tank late this afternoon. Fortunately, the tank was empty at the time it blew. No further details about the incident could be obtained from NFA and the owner of the fuel tank. A fire last night in Lautoka destroyed the Ready Diamond warehouse located at Marina Drive. National Fire Authority CEO John O'Connor confirmed that the fire started around 10 o'clock. Firefighters were able to control the fire from spreading to other buildings. The cause of the fire and the cost of damage has not been determined yet. About 26 staff members are employed at the factory. However, no one was working at the time of the incident. These workers are expected to be absorbed into other areas of the Ready Diamond Group. Police and the NFA are still conducting investigations. The Education Ministry will begin a series of trainings for school administrators and management on the usage of the grant that will be provided by government next year. With millions of dollars to be given to these schools as part of government's free education initiative, the ministry says this training is to ensure the funds are used for the right purposes. Myron Williams reports.
By the 10th of January next year, all school boards and management will have received funds from government to cater for all the expenses of their students for the 2014 school year. From tomorrow, a series of trainings will commence right around the country so that those running these schools know how the funds are to be used.
Basically, what we want to do is to train our people to handle accounts properly. We want to explain to them what is coming in this new grant and where and how it is to be used, so that everyone has a proper understanding and the money is used for the right purpose for which it is allocated.
$250 will be paid to schools for each primary school student, $440 for each student in Forms 3 and 4, $485 for all students in Forms 5 and 6, and $610 for all those in Form 7. Those in private schools and international students will be exempt from these free grants. And the ministry is expecting all school management to exercise high ethical standards in the usage of these funds.
We will be looking at financial management, types of grants, criteria for its allocation and usage, the monitoring process and other things that are required from school committees. We would want them to be very clear, very clean in their record keeping so that everyone is accountable for the money that has been allocated to them.
Dr. Brijlal adds that the management of these funds should not be a challenge for the individual schools.
I don't see any major challenge because it has been an ongoing process, but in the past the amount of money allocated was less compared to what is coming next year.
Government has allocated $541 million for the overall education sector in 2014. Myron Williams, Fiji One News.
A Japanese national appeared in the Nandi Magistrates Court today, charged with failing to declare foreign currency. Fuyuki Nori was stopped by a customs official at the Nandi International Airport on Sunday night. He had in his possession more than $15,000 in foreign currency. Nori's plea has been deferred to tomorrow and was released on a $2,000 bail with surety. He was also ordered to surrender all travel documents. Lautoka Special Administrator Praveen Bala appeared in the Lautoka Magistrates Court this morning. Bala is being charged for dangerous driving occasioning death. This is related to the death of a 48-year-old man in Teindamu outside Lautoka last month. Bala is currently out on bail with strict conditions. And police in the Western Division will be deciding soon whether to pursue negligence charges in the drowning case at a hotel involving a child. This is after a 12-year-old drowned while swimming with her sibling at the hotel pool. The Divisional Crime Officer Western is expected to make his recommendation on what charges to pursue later this week. Meanwhile, police have also questioned the parents of a toddler who also drowned last week in Etasiri. Two academics at the University of the South Pacific were recognized last night for their environment conservation efforts. Professor Randy Thaman and Professor Bill Albersberg were awarded with Lifetime Achievement Awards for their contribution to nature conservation initiatives throughout the region. Let's start with the details.
It was a night to recognize some of those who have worked tirelessly in the area of environmental conservation in their respective countries in the Pacific. USP academic Professor Randy Thaman's years of research work in empowering Pacific islands to conserve the environment has finally paid off. Professor Thaman has also advocated for the use of traditional knowledge in conservation work.
And it's not just climate change. Climate change is just the frosting on the cake. There are all kinds of issues, overpopulation, pollution, and everything. But we need to work with communities, because the most important way of building resilience and reducing their vulnerability is to protect our biodiversity.
Another USP academic, Professor Bill Albersberg, has been instrumental in establishing locally managed marine areas. His effort in conserving rich marine ecosystem was also recognized.
Think out of the box, get new ideas, and keep at it. Remember, we can continue to improve and make things better, and that's what we should be aiming at.
The government is also calling for the inclusion of the corporate sector in conservation efforts.
We salute all of you in your efforts to safeguard our precious environments, and we pledge to do all in our power to advance our common agenda and make our voices heard way beyond these shores.
Syed Qayyum says the Pacific should continue to make their voices heard on the global front when it comes to climate change and conservation efforts. Halitesh Dutt, Fiji One News.
Ahead in the news, new maternity ward for CWM Hospital. And children get a taste of some global festive cheer. Hello again. Leading this segment, the partially decomposed body of a farmer was found by villagers in the Nawerambe Hills in Kayasi. According to police, the victim had been missing since Tuesday last week. Police have since established that he had left home to catch prawns but failed to return. A search was mounted, but his body was found near a creek on Saturday. Post-mortem examination will be conducted soon as investigations continue. The Ndowata Community Policing Initiative was aimed at fostering a working relationship between the Fiji police force and members of the public. And although the communities have thrown their support behind the initiative, challenges continue to surface. Abisalome Rambo explains.
The Ndowata Community Policing Project was aimed at improving the relationship between police and the general public. A few months on, engaging its progress will determine its effectiveness, in particular in places like rural communities.
In the rural areas, we've had to approach the Ndowata initiative in a much different way, compared to the urban settings. First of all, there's the issue of traditional ties and things that we have to take into consideration. There's the issue of resources where we will, from our end as well, which is a problematic area, but we're trying to overcome that. It's just more. It's more complicated when you look at dealing with the issue in the rural setting.
The Ndowata Community Policing Team knows they will have to address issues according to its nature and the societal setup of the communities they serve.
The approach that we use here in the urban areas, we obviously cannot use in the rural areas. So it's on a needs basis. If you know your community is in a rural area and it's facing with different criminal history and so forth, what we implement here in the Central Division or in the Western Division will not necessarily work in the Eastern Division. And that's something that all our community policing officers, all our divisional policing commanders have been told to take into consideration, that the Ndowata approach is not something that is across the board.
Police are aware that the onus is on them to deliver the goods.
For example, we receive numerous complaints on a daily basis about our response time, about our attitudes on the phone. Those are small things that, when a person is in trouble or is searching for answers and then they come across these types of attitudes, that's something that puts them off. So it's a two-way relationship that we constantly have to work on. It's not something that we can just give it out there and say, okay, you have to come on board, help us, and that's it, we'll step back and then you do the work. No.
The Ndowata Community Police Team are currently looking at the success rates of areas where the project has been launched to revamp their operational strategies. Apisola Mirambo, Fiji One News.
The Ministry of Health is planning to build a new maternity ward next year at the Colonial War Memorial Hospital. This is part of the extension plan that will see the 90-year-old CWM hospital undergoing some major developments.
The CWM hospital is the oldest hospital in the country, 9 decades later, and they plan to expand services. And the high demand from the public will see some of this new project getting off the ground next year.
And you can also see that at CWM Hospital the infrastructure is increasing. There's plans next year to build a new maternity hospital here and expand the infrastructure. And again, to meet the rising demand for health services from the public.
They've also identified areas requiring further specialized training. This will contribute to better delivery of services.
And it has tried to meet this increasing demand by increasing the level and the scope of the services that's provided in the Ministry of Health. So CWM Hospital is taking the lead role in that, and so government is planning to continue to expand the range of specialized clinical service that's provided here. It has continued to allow for training of our staff in various fields of medicine.
While its anniversary marked this week, hospital administrators are inviting members of the public to take a walk down memory lane and revisit how it all started.
We are inviting members of the public to come. We are having an open day on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon, and we are inviting members of the public to come, and we are offering guided tours for members of the public, and we'd like to show them this is your hospital, this is what we can provide you, and this is how we can help you.
CWM Hospital will also hold an open day on Friday at Sukuna Park. Ndrebukelangi, Fiji One News.
The Colonial War Memorial Hospital has grown from strength to strength since it first opened its doors in 1923. One of its senior doctors says that while some difficulties were faced in those early days, a lot of inroads have been made in its 90 years of existence. Drew Bukelang again reports.
The medical fraternity at the CWM Hospital came together today to listen to a doctor who has a long-standing career within the health sector. While this hospital is celebrating its 90th anniversary, Dr. Mary Stram talked about her early days at the hospital after arriving here in 1970. She said some tips about her success in the field, attributing this to working closely with patients. And she believes the best way forward is to have a review system in place to monitor those who work in this hospital.
The review should always look towards improvement. Did this happen because we didn't follow our protocols? Let's follow them more. Or is there something, were the protocols followed and things happened in spite of it? Okay, does our protocol need improving? Okay, and it's very occasionally that somebody needs to be blamed.
Although the health sector has a limited budget, she said this should not be used as an excuse, as those who have worked there before have managed to deliver results.
It's very hard to choose a path, and for a country like us with limited budget, we profit a lot from waiting a while.
She adds that the future of this profession will always be challenging with the change in time and technology, but those in authority should prioritize areas according to needs.
Rather than trying to have everything that people who travel overseas have seen, rather than facing up to the very difficult thing which doctors have to do from time to time to explain to patients that intervention in their case is not going to be of benefit to them.
An open day will be held at the CWM Hospital tomorrow. Ndrebukelangi, Fiji One News.
The World Wildlife Fund launched a book last night to pay tribute to the late Tuimaduata Ratuaisea Katonivere, who is considered an environment conservation champion. The booklet is a collection of photographs of the Great Sea Reef. WWF has been profiling the 150-kilometer-long reef, which is the third largest barrier reef in the world.
In terms of oversight management of the Great Sea Reef and his traditional fishing area, that probably was one of the last decisions that he took to allow the photographers to do that. But Of course, he passed away before the photo shoot was completed. So this book is actually a collection of the photographs from that shoot that shows the wonder of the wild marine life under the Great Siri.
WWF is also working with other chiefs around the country to include communities in conservation efforts.
We'd like to profile the Great Sea Reef System, the one reef system in Fiji, regionally and globally as well. So this photography expedition is part of getting the photographs that we hope will inspire that.
Various Christmas-related activities have been organized for children by the Suva City Library. With the theme Christmas Around the World, it involved foreign missions based here. It's all about enlightening children, giving them a fair idea of how Christmas is celebrated in these countries. The British High Commissioner Roderick Drummond said the embassy was doing its best, or its part, in terms of fostering knowledge through reading amongst young minds.
We just saw it as an opportunity to give some of our time to the children to help encourage a love of learning and of reading. You know, I always remember at Christmas, and we're approaching the Christmas season, when I opened my presents, the thing that made most impact, the thing that I enjoyed most, was getting a book for Christmas. And just getting that love of learning and reading is so important. You can see the children are loving it.
The children were hosted to reading activities, games, right up to making British Christmas traditions. The program runs throughout the week until the 12th.
The special thing that they're teaching them today is how to make a Christmas cracker, which is like a rather small firework that you're under supervision. Your parents let you open on Christmas Day, and when you pull it apart, it makes a little bang, and inside you should find a little gift and perhaps a joke or something like that as well, and a funny hat which you have to wear at Christmas dinner.
The New Zealand High Commission will host the activities tomorrow. That brings us to the end of this segment. Pacific News is still up next. Stay with us. A Fiji-born woman is amongst 8 women from the Pacific to be recognized at the upcoming Stars of Oceania. Dr. Sela Panapasa is originally from Rotuma and now conducting research and analysis at the University of Michigan in the United States. The awards is being hosted by the University of Hawaii's Pacific Business Center program to be held later tonight at Halekoa Hotel in Waikiki. Held every 4 years, the awards recognizes and celebrates the contributions of Pacific Island women and their contributions to the region. The Stars of Oceania started in 2006. Other women to be recognized tonight include leading academics and community leaders from the US, the Cook Islands, Myanmar and also Samoa. Tuvalu's Prime Minister has described the recent United Nations Climate Change Conference in Poland as disappointing and frustrating. Anela Sopoanga says while climate change was already a reality for his people in Tuvalu, the lack of urgency from some world leaders has been very disappointing. He says the fact that major industrial nations have wound back their targets reflects the complete disregard for the people of countries like Tuvalu. He even labeled some Pacific neighbors, which he would not name specifically, as also being very unhelpful. Sopoanga also says that it was offensive that some people have suggested that the people of Tuvalu should relocate elsewhere. One of Fiji's newest boutique resorts, aptly named the Remote Resort, has been named the winner of the most blissful beach at the World Boutique Hotel Awards announced in London. Built on 64 acres of private peninsula in Vanuatu, the private all-villa resort is accessible exclusively by boat and boasts its own private beach. The resort is also on the doorstep of the Rainbow Reef, the soft coral capital of the world, and home to the Great White Wall, listed on Sports Diver's top 50 dive sites in the world. The boutique resort is located just off the Somasoma Strait between Taveuni and Vanuatu. And Drew is next with sports, and I hear our Sevens team have settled well in Port Elizabeth.
Yes, Billy, the side arrived at 2 a.m. Fiji time and are looking forward to their first training run later today. That's coming up. Also ahead, the war of words begin between the forces. And defending champ out of national chess tournament.